Danica's back, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
You remember her? She's back. So we're going to talk about the rules and why it's okay to break them. Not only are we into design, but we're also paint professionals too that recommend products to people. And oftentimes we make recommendations, but it isn't necessarily
Set in stone?
Yes, it's just a general sort of default that's probably going to work for a lot of people, but not necessarily everyone. On this channel, I talk a lot about finishes because not only do we mention design, but we also talk about products. So when it comes to finishes, generally speaking, the most popular ones tend to be matte and eggshell for walls and pearl satin semi-gloss for trim. The normal recommendation is to go lower sheen when you want to hide imperfections. Flatter finishes do that very well. They reflect less light, so if there's any little scuffs or bumps or an uneven texture in general, matte finishes will camouflage that really well. But the reason we often recommend going shinier on baseboards, doors, and frames is that durability aspect.
Correct.
So it's going to be more washable. Those are surfaces that get scuffed up a lot more than your walls, typically.
Unless you have kids.
Unless you have kids, yeah. If you have kids, then you just put high gloss everywhere, and then you're good. So that's why it's important to
Go off the beaten path.
go off the beaten path, know the rules before you break them, right? And there are some benefits to breaking the rules, especially on the design side of things. Because when you change things up, when you're unique, when you're spontaneous, even in your decorating, that reflects you as a person, right? You don't necessarily want to be like everyone else,
Right.
You want your guests to enjoy the space and be like, oh yeah, this is so you, Danica. This is a great space.
Or so you, James.
Yeah. When you're picking paint, not only do you have to worry about which company you're going with, which color you're going with, the finish is a huge, huge aspect of not only the functionality, but also the aesthetics and the design. Traditionally, you go a bit flatter on walls because it'll hide imperfections in the drywall, and you go shinier on trim because it's going to be more washable and more durable.
Keep in mind that matte does give more of a chalkier feel, and having semi-gloss or pearl, let's say on the wall, does bring more dimension to the room or space.
It sort of functions in a similar way that a lot of mirrors do in your design, where if you have perhaps a smaller space, by adding a large mirror, it expands the whole space. You get this expansive feel.
Right.
And a higher sheen level, whether it's semi-gloss or even high gloss on the walls, might sound crazy to some of you, but really it can add that same sort of expansive feel that mirrors do. And not only that, but colors are going to feel even more vibrant with higher sheen level because it's more reflective. The color is almost emanating off the walls.
Keep in mind you do want to have nice walls that are still in great condition.
It's true. So the one downside design-wise that higher finishes have is they do reflect all that light. And any little bumps and scuffs and scratches that are on your walls, they're going to be very prominent. I tend to favor a higher sheen level on larger surfaces like walls or even ceilings on newer builds that have a nice, clean sheet of drywall or it was freshly skim coated with plastering. It's very, very clean. On the other hand, if you have a really, really old, aged look to your house and you want to accentuate that, then by all means.
Go right ahead.
Go right ahead. Do whatever you want. That's the whole point, right? It's know the rules, then break them. It becomes an intentional choice,
Right.
an intentional design choice, and then that makes your space even more personal.
Just do you.
I've always been telling them,
Just do you.
We give you the recommendations, which again, they're good recommendations, but every person, every design is completely personal.
Break the rules, people.
Break them. Snap them in half. Thank you, Danica, for being in this video.
Thank you. Danica and James.
Danica and James, DJ, Paint People, we out.